to worry about bad breath. Now,
Swishy time.
I built a shotgun axe. Oh.
Look, I know this sounds like a very stupid and dangerous idea, but in reality, I'm convinced it's just dangerous.
So,
Right.
this is a shotgun shell. If you open the shell, you find the shot part of the name, but you also find this thing here in nitrocellulose, also known as smokeless powder or gunpowder. This is a propellant that burns pretty quickly, and it's made by putting cellulose inside nitric acid. After the transformation, you can see it burns much faster than normal cellulose. If you examine the shell's butt, you find a metallic button called the primer that if you hit with some degree of force,
Where's
it
it
blows
gone
up.
in everybody?
That explosion
Was this a
ignites the
shot?
nitrocellulose, which burns and turns into a very hot high-pressure gas that would normally be used to push the shot out of the barrel. Normally. This video was brought to you by Onshape. In the 1930s, there was this tractor called Field Marshal that
Onshape.
used shotgun shells to start its engine, which kind of makes sense because what does an engine needs to function? Very hot high-pressure gases that push the piston.
Okay, how does any of this ties into lumberjacking?
An axe is normally used either to chop or split wood. It does this because it has the shape of a wedge that once it's pressed into the wood, pushes the crack apart and splits the log into two pieces. There's even this axe called Chopper 1 that takes this to the extreme by using mechanical levers that help push the crack open. What if I made a hollow axe with exhaust ports in the blade and used the very hot high-pressure gases from the shotgun shell to push the
So
walls
it's a
of the
pin
crack
that
apart
pushes the
and
fucking
split the wood
pellets out.
effortlessly?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, maybe
that's the
if
main
it's
idea.
no,
And if you still
the
think
shell
this
falls.
is as stupid as it is dangerous, look, I understand. I'm not trying to revolutionize the lumberjacking industry here. This is just a silly idea I had while pooping, and it has infected my mind to such
I'll
a
be having
degree
those
of
ideas.
obsession that now I just need to build it to make sure if it works or not. With that said, don't you dare try to replicate this at home. I don't care if you have 7 PhDs in engineering. Let the professional idiot do this. Here's my main problem with all of this. I have never shot anything in my life. Like, ever. And I guess that stems from the fact that I live in Portugal, where it's even illegal to own a baseball bat without also owning the glove and the ball. I'm not getting a shotgun, is what I mean. But because I do need to run some tests, I built this. Yeah,
like a
I
pump.
kind of built this. I saw some videos of people building them online. I call this a hillbilly shotgun. It's basically two tubes that fit together. One of the tubes has a pin in the bottom that hits the shell in the bottom and triggers it. I
Wait,
built
this is sick, though.
For
Wait, this
scientific
is
reasons,
sick.
by the way.
I weighed the trigger tube, and then I released it from several heights until I was able to trigger the primer. The point of this was for me to know how much energy it takes to detonate the primer. Height times weight times gravity gives me the amount of energy. I measure this because I don't want to hit the shell so hard that I pierce through the primer, I open a hole, and then the explosion goes backwards.
Is that the-
By the way, I removed the shot from the shell first. I'm not shooting loaded shells into my shop's floor.
Okie dokie. What I need now is a hollow X head with exhaust ports in the blade, and I need it to be made out of steel because I don't really trust any other material not to blow up in my face. Luckily, there's this service that 3D prints metal parts called JLC 3D.
Oh, that's cool.
I've used them before, they're great. You basically upload a 3D model to their website, they 3D print the parts, and you get them in like a week. That is great and all, but here's the problem. For me to 3D print a 3D model, I need a 3D model. And to make sure that the dimensions of the 3D model are right, so the X head doesn't blow up in my face, I think I need to build a prototype. I can't machine steel, but I can machine aluminium. I know, I said it needed to be made out
Aluminium.
of steel, but for a prototype, aluminium should do the job, I think. I machined the axe in 2 halves that I then joined using screws and cold welding glue. It's strong glue. I know this setup looks a little bit sketchy, but don't worry because I'm going to be triggering this from back there using a very sophisticated mechanism. Also, I have this. It's a sheet of bulletproof glass, so it should be safe. Let's give it a go. 1, 2, 3. That wasn't half bad. It was a bang, but it wasn't very strong. I mean, it was only the primer in the casing. I'm gonna add some propellant to see if we get a bigger bang. I saw this technique online, and by online I mean
This is how it's
YouTube,
hooked.
to make shotgun shell blanks, in which they use floral foam to compress the propellant in place. I'm using the same amount that already came in the shell because I think that's the safe way to go, right? 1, 2, 3. Something here is not right. I'm getting a bang, but it's not a big bang. Not like this.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's
Well, I
happening
mean,
is
you really think you're gonna get that big bang, no?
It's getting stuck inside of the axe.
With this?
And I'm guessing the reason for that is pressure. Or better yet,
So
lack of
the
pressure.
impact
A
of the
regular shotgun
axe
shell
hitting
has
the
this
thing is
rim
going
that,
to
closes the casing and
push
it's
the
really
pump
hard
out,
to
which is
open.
sick.
It also has heavy metal pellets and this thing here that looks like a
think
piston.
that's what he's
All
going
of
for,
this
maybe
creates
more about once
resistance
he
that
showed it.
delays the expansion
That's what it
and
looked
gives
like from
time for the
afar.
propellant to burn. When I open the shells, I get rid of the crimp, I remove the shot and the piston. I need to find a way to close the shell again. Okay, I did some digging, and apparently this is called a star crimp. It's done by using tools that I do not have, but what I do have is brass, a CNC machine, and Onshape.
Sponsor time.
Onshape
Wait,
is
I
a
thought it
3D
was a-
modeling app
Oh,
that
yeah,
allows
I
you
thought we
to draw
hit
3D
this
models
one.
for 3D printing, CNC machining, or anything else. I use it because it's very easy to use, it allows me to do anything that I need, and it never crashes. Onshape is a cloud-based app, and because of that, you don't need to download anything. You can 3D model in the browser itself. This means your file is always saved, is always safe, and it also means you can 3D model using almost any device. This makes it very useful to share 3D models, but also for several people to work in the
So
same
this is
file at
like-
the same
wonder-
time. It's great for makers, but also
Take
for
a picture of
engineers
it and
and
it just
companies.
knows the image,
I
I
highly
guess?
encourage engineers to sign
Does
up
it
to
work?
Onshape and get up to
Make
6
it in the
months of
thing?
the professional version for free at onshape.pro/Intexa. This
much
is
work
what
making it,
Onshape
man.
looks like. And it's also what my attempt of designing a star crimper looks like. I'm gonna send it to the CNC machine and see if it works.
Maybe you could do both. Star crimp. Star crimp.
Damn it.
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh, you smashed it.
Okay, so here it is. I mean, it doesn't look half bad.
It doesn't.
This is the original one, and this is mine. Actually, now that I look at it, mine looks a little bit ugly.
Yeah.
When I got here, the fleet management system was archaic, like Stone Age.
There was a
It should do the job. I don't see why not.
It did not. It's not even burning 10% of the propellant. Apparently, the pressure inside of a shotgun shell can easily reach 800 bar. For reference,
800
2 bar
bar.
does this to
Oh,
a syringe.
shit.
800 bar is equivalent to placing the weight of a car on top of the star crimp.
Yeah.
In a shotgun, the barrel is long, which allows a smooth expansion and more than enough time to combust everything. On the other hand, my axe is not very long. I have something going for me though. When the axe penetrates the wood, the exhaust ports are going to get
yeah.
sealed by the wood itself, which means the only way for the gases to escape is to push the wood apart. I think. I can theorize all
Okay,
I
but
want,
if you
but
smash
I
hard
actually
enough,
have to test
right,
it.
should the axe
So
go through?
I made this new design
Wait.
for the axe head, which by the way I think it looks pretty cool. I'm gonna order it from JLC 3DP, and in the meantime, while I wait for the parts, I have another problem that I need to solve. The Hillbilly shotgun is great and
It's
everything.
lit.
I mean,
A lot
quite
of
great,
shotgun
it
is
gets the
lit.
job done. But it's also too big for me to use in the axe. I need a more condensed solution, and I have an idea.
Wait, can't you make
when
a
I swing
small
the
version of the
axe, I
Hillbilly
accelerate
shotgun?
its head, and when eventually it's abruptly stopped by the wood, if I had a plunger somewhere here, when the impact happens, said plunger would accelerate forward and hit the shotgun shell. What if I use the magnet to hold the plunger in place up here, and when the axe hits, the impact, it's enough to detach the plunger from the magnet and move it down. Do you remember how I measured how much potential energy
Oh, he needs
took
something to
trigger
hold
the
it.
primer? Another form of potential energy is elastic potential energy, and by that I mean rubber bands. Using some brass pipe adapters and a brass P9 machine, I made this. It's spring-loaded, and it allows me to heat the primer cap safely without the risk of the pressure pushing the shell in the opposite direction, being the opposite direction my face. I also machined the plunger in brass and a guide tube in polycarbonate. If I push this back, it gets attracted by the magnet, which fixes it in place. If I quickly remove the magnet, the rubber band accelerates the plunger in the direction
Is
of
that,
the pin.
what's his name?
It works pretty well,
Some
as you can tell by
inventor.
what happened to Intexa's
Oh.
old model. Just for giggles, I actually loaded a shell with some gun cotton that I made, and it also worked decently. That's the Axe Smith bobblehead. I'm sorry, James, I didn't have any more Ulking Texas. You took the hit well, though. You're a tough one.
This is a really heavy box. I'm guessing this is not the I Hate Tomato t-shirts that I ordered. Yep,
Whoa.
I don't think this is my shirt. But it's pretty heavy.
It's heavy?
And
Okay.
it looks badass.
It does look
The
badass.
dimensions seem pretty good. So, The general idea is for me to blow up the shell here. The hot high pressure gases travel through these
Whoever made this
channels,
is like, what the fuck is this guy
come
doing?
out of these ports. As you might have noticed, this is not sharpened yet because apparently it's illegal to 3D print plated parts, so I rounded the edges. In this way, they can't really tell this is an axe head. As far as they know, this is just a weird showered head. I do need to sharpen this though, and I'm terrified of doing so because I have zero experience. But I don't really have a choice.
Said sharpen it. That's light though. No funny shit. That's light. Come on.
Yep, that should be good. Okay, now I need to weld the adapter in place and put a handle on it.
Okay. Some nice little welding. Little weld job.
Should I hammer this in? How am I supposed to feed these two together?
And like smooth it out so it goes in nicely. That's like right. Slush. There we go. That's what I was wondering. The tube, boy. Damn, that shit don't fuck that shit up. It's crazy. I don't fuck it up. I guess that shit's so tightly squeezed. It's not enough. Maybe it is. I don't know. Oh shit, we're getting jiggy.
Jesus. 2, 1.
Woo!
Yes! That is insane.
That's
You
lit.
know what's also insane?
I need that
Not
little
turning on the
pocket rocket. What that
microphone
shit?
when you
That was
get
that
results
shit?
like this.
Little
Look
fucking
at my
budget
idiot
shotty.
face, completely unaware of what I've
Nice.
done. Anyway, let me take this moment of silence to tell
Oh,
you that
funny
the axe
shit.
works really well. When it works, because a lot of the times it doesn't. Either I don't go deep enough, or I go too deep, or I miss the target completely. As you can imagine, this is none of the axe's fault and 100% my fault. But none of that really matters, because when it works, it's just unreal.
shit
That
needs to be
wood
instant.
right there got shot against that wall. Do you know how far that is? Do you understand what I'm saying right now? Do you realize how insane this is? This is reality. Take it in. But don't try this at home or anywhere else. This is super dangerous.
Dale. Dude! What is this? I feel so powerful right now, but I'm also really, really scared. I'm gonna keep doing it though. 3.
Damn.
This is not
The shotgun
for
on
my
the
heart.
axe is lit. Bring us a shotgun axe.
My only regret in all of this is that I only had a box of shells, so my testing was limited. It's hard to get this stuff in Portugal. But anyway, if I don't get arrested, I'll see you soon. And remember, tomatoes are disgusting.
Look, I'm happy this is working, but I think I'm gonna have to drink some tea after this and maybe take a nap. Forget that. I'm not gonna be able to sleep.
That was dope. I ain't gonna lie. In Tegza.